Leading in the Age of AI, presented by AI Audiobook. In a world where machines are getting smarter by the minute, leadership isn't disappearing, it's evolving. This audiobook will help you lead with confidence, clarity, and a human touch in an AI-powered world. Whether you're a business leader, a team builder, or just someone who wants to stay relevant, this is your guide to leading well, right now and in the future. If you'd like to jump between chapters, you can use the timestamps in the description below. Let's begin. Chapter 1: Human Leadership in a Machine World. The rise of artificial intelligence is not a distant future, it's our current reality. Every industry, from finance to education, healthcare to entertainment, is being reshaped by machine intelligence. In this fast-shifting world, it's easy to assume that leadership might fade in importance, that as machines take over more decision-making and problem-solving, the role of human leaders will shrink. But the truth is the opposite. As systems become smarter, the need for wise, emotionally grounded human leadership becomes even more urgent. Let's start with a clear realization. Machines are mastering information, but humans must still lead transformation. AI can process billions of data points in seconds. It can summarize lengthy research reports, detect patterns, and optimize strategies based on cold, hard logic. But it doesn't know how to inspire. It doesn't know how to unify people across departments, cultures, or value systems. It doesn't know how to take responsibility for difficult ethical decisions. That's the role only a human leader can play. In a company driven by AI, it's not the machine that will rally the team after a tough loss. It won't have the emotional intelligence to handle grief in a workplace. It won't detect subtle burnout in an employee or offer genuine encouragement when someone doubts their own potential. The more intelligent our systems become, the more vital it is for human leaders to bring vision, empathy, and trust, qualities no algorithm can imitate. Here's the challenge we face. AI is no longer a backroom tool. It's stepping into roles that once required human expertise: law analysis, code generation, investment modeling, even creative writing. In this world, many professionals wonder, where does my value lie? And that's where leadership must evolve. The leaders of this era are not just directing people. They are interpreting change. They are guides in a landscape where the ground moves every few months. To lead effectively now, you don't need to know everything about AI, but you must know how it changes the context of human work. You must be able to help others navigate ambiguity. You must be able to calm the anxiety that comes with disruption. The best leaders in the AI era are not hyper-technical, they're hyper-relational. They understand how to talk about complex change in ways that people can grasp. They lead not just with strategy, but with clarity and care. Let's imagine an example. A hospital implements a new AI system that can predict patient risk more accurately than the human staff. The data is sound, the results are impressive. But the nurses begin to feel threatened. Doctors start questioning their future roles. The workplace energy shifts, people go quiet. Efficiency may have improved, but morale has dropped. At this point, it's not another tech update that's needed, it's leadership. Someone needs to step in, hold space for the fears, articulate the purpose behind the change, and remind the team that AI is not there to replace them, but to empower them. That conversation isn't in the machine's programming. It's in the leader's voice. This is what makes human leadership so crucial. AI can offer outputs, but only humans can offer meaning. A system might help streamline decisions, but it doesn't know whether those decisions align with human values. It might suggest automating a department, but it won't ask how that affects a worker's family. A leader must hold that larger view, the ethical view, the human impact. Machines don't carry moral weight. Leaders do. That's why the first and most important skill for leadership in the age of AI is not technical mastery, it's emotional presence. Your team doesn't need you to write code. They need you to create a climate where humans and machines work together, not in conflict. They need you to model curiosity instead of fear, flexibility instead of rigidity. They need to see in you a leader who adapts without losing humanity. Think of the emotional intelligence required now. Can you sense when AI is disrupting a person's sense of purpose? Can you interpret subtle shifts in team morale as new technologies roll in? Can you recognize when someone's silence is actually resistance? These are the human moments that no machine sees. But a great leader always does. Because leadership is not about status, it's about sensing and serving and doing so with heart. We're also witnessing something new. Employees are not just asking for direction, they're asking for interpretation. They want to know what this AI shift means for their role, their purpose, their relevance. They want guidance on how to stay valuable in a world that changes so quickly. And in those moments, a true leader doesn't just deliver answers. They offer perspective. They bring calm. They say, here's where we're going, and here's how you can grow with it. There's something powerful about a leader who can say, yes, the world is changing fast, but we will not lose who we are in the process. That voice, that human steadiness, is the anchor people are looking for. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. That presence is your power. Another major role of leadership now is setting the tone for AI adoption. If you lead a team, your attitude toward AI becomes the team's culture. If you model openness, experimentation, and ethical use, others will follow. But if you lead with fear, confusion, or avoidance, you risk slowing your team's growth. The leader's mindset becomes the environment. In the age of AI, culture is not just about fun perks. It's about confidence and clarity in uncertain terrain. Let's say you're managing a team of marketers. You've just introduced AI tools that help write email sequences. Some team members embrace it, others resist. One person even jokes, "Guess we'll be out of jobs soon." Now this is your moment. You can ignore it, or you can lead. You can pause the meeting and say, actually, this tool frees us from writing from scratch. It lets us start with something and make it better. Our creativity isn't threatened, it's now supercharged. That single moment reframes the fear. That's what leadership does. It changes narratives, not just numbers. And here's something even more important. The AI era gives leaders a chance to build cultures of learning, not just performance. When the ground is shifting this fast, the ability to learn quickly becomes more valuable than any one skill. Great leaders now foster environments where people are encouraged to experiment with AI tools, to share what they've learned, to build systems together. The leader doesn't have to be the smartest in the room. They have to be the most empowering. So what do you need to thrive as a leader now? It starts with vision, not just of what the tech can do, but of who your team can become. It takes courage to confront resistance and guide people through change. It takes humility to admit you don't know everything, but you're learning too. And it takes discipline to keep the mission human, even when the tools become more machine. This new world is not anti-human. It's more human than ever, if you choose to lead that way. As artificial intelligence continues to weave itself into every layer of society, the question isn't just what it can do, it's how we will lead through what it does. And that's where the difference between managing and leading becomes clearer than ever. Managers handle systems. Leaders guide people through uncertainty. In an AI-driven world, this distinction matters more than ever. Now more than ever, leadership means navigating transition. AI is not a one-time shift. It's a constantly evolving presence. Tools are updated weekly. Models get smarter. The scope of automation expands. And each of these changes sends ripples through a workplace, through families, through economies. The leaders of this age need to be skilled not only in decision-making, but in steadying others through the discomfort of ongoing change. Let's step into a real-life example. Imagine a school district integrating AI-assisted grading tools for teachers. The intention is positive: reduce administrative burden, free up teacher time for creative planning and student connection. But what happens when teachers feel their expertise is being replaced by code? What happens when students begin questioning whether their essays are being read by humans or machines? A leader in that context must do more than talk about efficiency. They must rebuild trust. They must communicate not just what is changing, but why it matters and how it helps. This is what separates reactive leadership from proactive human-centered leadership. Reactive leaders implement tools and hope for compliance. Proactive leaders involve their people early, invite participation, and honor the emotional side of transition. They anticipate resistance, not as a threat, but as part of the process. And they meet it with dialogue, not just data. In this age, leaders must also become translators of complexity. The average employee or team member is not deeply immersed in AI terminology. They don't read white papers or follow machine learning blogs, but they feel the effects of these systems. So it becomes the leader's job to translate what's happening in accessible language. That doesn't mean dumbing things down. It means framing them up, explaining new developments in ways that answer a person's core concerns. What does this mean for me? Will I still matter here? What's the future going to look like? And this translation role applies to more than team members. It includes customers, clients, investors, and even regulators. If you lead a startup, for example, and your product integrates advanced AI, it's not enough to pitch its technical brilliance. You need to show how it improves lives. You need to help others feel that they are part of something purposeful, not just powerful. Machines can optimize code. Only a leader can anchor meaning. Leadership in a machine world also means facing new ethical terrain. AI systems are only as ethical as the data and the humans who guide them. Bias, misinformation, and unintended consequences are real risks. And these risks don't show up in charts. They show up in decisions. Who gets hired? Who gets flagged? Who gets left behind? This is where ethical leadership steps in, not to slow innovation, but to make it responsible. The leaders who will shape the future are the ones who aren't just asking, can we do this, but should we do this? And how can we do it right? There will be times when efficiency and empathy pull in opposite directions. AI might recommend layoffs based on productivity scores, but a leader will see the story behind the numbers. A mother balancing 3 jobs, an employee who just went through a loss, a person struggling in silence. The system doesn't see those layers, but you do. And in that moment, it's your leadership that decides what kind of organization you're building, not just the data. We must also talk about trust. In a machine-mediated world, trust doesn't come automatically. It must be built, consistently, visibly, and patiently. If your team doesn't trust that AI is being used with integrity, their productivity won't increase. Their anxiety will. If customers sense their data is handled carelessly, they won't be loyal, no matter how intelligent your system is. Trust is now a strategic asset, and human leadership is the key to earning it. So how do leaders build this trust? Through transparency, communicating what AI is being used, how it's being used, and what limits exist. Through consistency, making sure decisions align with values even when machines suggest otherwise. And through humility, being open about what you don't know, inviting feedback, and adjusting as you learn. The AI era doesn't demand perfect leaders. It demands honest ones. Another emerging role of leaders is being curators of culture. In the past, culture was shaped by personality, perks, traditions. Now it's also shaped by how technology is implemented. If AI is introduced in a way that removes creativity, it damages culture. If it's used to enhance human brilliance, culture becomes a magnet. The difference is in the leadership. Leaders who thrive in this new landscape will be those who treat culture as an ecosystem, not an accessory. They will ask, how do we stay human in our decision-making? How do we maintain psychological safety when machines are watching performance metrics? How do we create room for learning, experimentation, and even failure, without fear of being replaced? And let's not forget this. Leadership in the AI age is not confined to formal roles. You don't need a title to lead. In fact, some of the most important leadership today comes from those within teams. Employees who model adaptability, who help others learn new tools, who raise ethical concerns when needed. The AI era opens a new opportunity for distributed leadership, where influence comes not from authority, but from initiative and empathy. So whether you're a CEO, a team lead, a freelancer, or a rising professional, you are part of this leadership challenge. And the question becomes, what kind of leader will you be? Will you lead with fear or curiosity, with ego or empathy, with rigidity or responsiveness? The AI world is not waiting, it's already here. But it's not a threat to leadership, it's a call to a higher level of it. Because when machines think faster, we must think deeper. When systems become more efficient, we must become more human. That's the great task of this era, not to compete with AI, but to lead beside it. Not to prove we're better than machines, but to become better for each other. And in that journey, the future won't be written by algorithms alone. It will be shaped by those who choose to lead with vision, wisdom, and heart. Those who see not just what AI can do, but what humans together can become. Chapter 2. The AI Literate Leader. Leadership has always required literacy, not just the ability to read or write, but the ability to read the times, to understand the tools, the culture, and the systems shaping the moment. In the age of artificial intelligence, leaders must become something new: AI literate. Now, what does that really mean? AI literacy is not about learning to code or understanding neural networks. It's not about mastering every technical term or knowing how to build your own language model. Being AI literate means being informed, curious, and capable of making thoughtful decisions in a world increasingly shaped by algorithms. It means knowing enough about how AI works and how it doesn't, to lead responsibly, strategically, and confidently. Think about the last time you encountered an AI-powered tool. Maybe it was a chatbot on a company website. Maybe it was a voice assistant in your car, or a recommendation engine suggesting the next article or show. AI isn't just for engineers in lab coats anymore. It's in HR software, customer support workflows, marketing platforms, even healthcare diagnostics. If you lead people, manage projects, or shape strategy, you're already working alongside AI, whether you realize it or not. That's why the leaders of this era can't afford to stay in the dark. Being uninformed about AI today is like leading a company during the rise of the internet and saying, "I don't do technology." It's not just a gap, it's a liability. Now here's the good news. You don't need to become an AI expert. You just need to understand what AI can do, what it can't do, and how to ask the right questions. That's the foundation of AI literacy. So let's build that foundation together. We'll begin with a key mindset. AI is not magic. It's pattern recognition at scale. At its core, AI systems learn from vast amounts of data. They analyze patterns and make predictions based on those patterns. Whether they're writing text, detecting fraud, or identifying trends in customer behavior, they're predicting what's likely based on what they've seen before. This matters because it helps you understand AI's strengths and its blind spots. For example, AI can summarize articles with incredible speed, but it doesn't know if the article is biased, outdated, or based on faulty logic. It can generate email responses, but it doesn't understand the emotional context behind your message. That's why an AI literate leader never assumes that output equals insight. You must still bring human judgment to the table. Let's take an example. You're leading a marketing team and someone suggests using AI to write product descriptions faster. Sounds efficient, right? But an AI literate leader will ask, what data is this tool trained on? Can it match our brand tone? Will it reflect the nuances of our target audience? That line of questioning shows leadership that's engaged, not just impressed. AI literacy also means understanding the difference between automation and augmentation. Many people hear about AI and immediately picture job loss or total replacement. But in reality, the most powerful use of AI isn't replacing humans, it's augmenting them. In other words, helping them do more, better, faster. Think of AI as your co-pilot, not flying the plane alone, but helping you navigate smarter. If you're a team lead, AI can help you sort feedback forms in minutes instead of hours. If you're in sales, it can help identify the highest potential leads. If you're a coach or educator, it can generate outlines, summaries, and even quiz questions to support your teaching. But you're still the one setting direction. You still hold the values. You still own the outcomes. That's why AI literacy isn't just about tools. It's about responsibility. Let's say you're a healthcare manager deciding whether to adopt an AI-based triage system. The vendor promises faster service and more accurate predictions. But you need to ask, how was this system trained? Does it reflect diverse patient populations? What happens when it makes a wrong call? Who's accountable? That's AI literacy in action. It's knowing that speed and intelligence are not the same as wisdom or fairness. And this goes even deeper when we talk about trust. AI literate leaders are also trust builders, because as more decisions become AI influenced, people will start asking, can I trust this system? Whether it's a hiring algorithm, a pricing tool, or a student evaluation engine, trust becomes the currency of leadership, and it's up to you to earn it. That's why transparency is a cornerstone of AI literacy. You don't have to explain every technical detail, but you do have to explain the purpose, the process, and the limitations. If your team feels confused or blindsided, resistance will grow. But if they feel informed and involved, they'll grow with the technology instead of fearing it. Let's make this real. Imagine you're introducing an AI-based scheduling assistant to your team. Instead of saying, "This will handle our calendars from now on," you say, "This tool will help reduce back-and-forth emails when scheduling meetings." You'll still be in control, but it'll suggest times that work based on our calendars and patterns. If something feels off, we can override it anytime. That tone, clear, calm, and empowering, builds trust. And it comes from being AI literate. Now here's another key quality of AI literate leaders. They're lifelong learners. AI is evolving fast. Tools that didn't exist last year are now mainstream. Regulations are forming. New use cases are emerging monthly. This means you don't just learn AI once. You stay curious, you stay updated, and you help your team do the same. One of the most practical ways to stay sharp is to simply experiment. Try new tools. Ask questions. Read summaries of the latest updates. Talk to others using AI in your industry. The goal isn't perfection, it's participation. The more you engage with AI now, the more fluent and confident you'll become. And remember, AI literacy is not an individual sport, it's a team advantage. When your whole team understands how to use AI responsibly and creatively, your entire organization becomes more adaptive. That's a leadership edge. AI is not a tech trend, it's a new layer of work. Just like digital tools reshaped how we communicate, sell, and serve, AI will reshape how we think, plan, and decide. The leaders who thrive in this world are not the ones who fear the shift. They're the ones who learn to steer with it. So don't wait for permission to become AI literate. It's not a luxury. It's not optional. It's a core leadership skill. And the sooner you grow it, the stronger your impact will be in every room you lead. But AI literacy doesn't just help you lead your current team. It helps you shape your organization's future. Because if you're a leader, you're not only dealing with what's in front of you, you're setting the tone for what's coming. And that means making smart, ethical, and strategic decisions about how AI is introduced, who it empowers, and what values it reflects. Let's talk about hiring. Many companies now use AI to screen resumes or analyze candidate responses. On paper, that sounds efficient. But here's the question you need to ask. Are these systems reinforcing bias or removing it? If the AI was trained on biased historical data, it might favor certain backgrounds while filtering out others. An AI-literate leader doesn't just look at the speed of hiring, they ask whether the process is just, whether the outcomes align with the company's values, whether people are treated as data points or as individuals. This is where true leadership shows. You step in, you investigate, and you create safeguards. Maybe that means requiring a human review for every decision made by AI. Maybe it means conducting regular audits to check for fairness. Or maybe it means slowing down just enough to ensure the people behind the numbers still matter. That's what leadership looks like in an age when algorithms do the first round of decision-making. Now consider internal tools, things like performance tracking or project management dashboards. These systems might use AI to flag inefficiencies, track productivity, or even recommend who gets promoted. Again, the idea sounds promising. But the AI doesn't know who stayed late mentoring a junior employee. It doesn't see the quiet leadership behind the scenes. It doesn't weigh emotional labor. If you rely solely on these tools without human insight, you risk rewarding only what can be measured and missing what truly matters. Being AI literate means you ask better questions. You dig deeper. You ask, what patterns is this system learning from? What blind spots could it have? Who gets excluded if we only go by the data? That mindset protects people, it protects innovation, and it helps you build a workplace where AI supports people instead of diminishing them. Let's zoom out for a moment and think about communication. In a world increasingly influenced by AI, your communication style matters more than ever. Because now, leaders are not only talking to people, they're also helping people talk to machines. You're setting the example of how to prompt clearly, how to interpret AI output critically, and how to give feedback to systems that are always learning. A great leader learns to guide their team in both directions. Upward, by listening and responding to human needs, and forward by helping people understand and interact with emerging tools. For example, you might teach your team how to use AI to generate first drafts of reports, but also how to refine those drafts with human context and insight. You might encourage experimentation, but also clarify what the boundaries are. You become the bridge between human intuition and machine speed. And that brings us to prompting. If AI literacy had a practical skill you could start mastering today, it's this one. Prompt writing is how you communicate with AI tools to get better, more tailored output. And for leaders, this is gold, because the quality of your prompts can directly impact the quality of your decisions. Let's say you need to evaluate customer sentiment after a new product launch. You could ask the AI, summarize the feedback, and it might give you a few basic trends. But a more effective prompt might be, analyze customer feedback from the past 30 days and identify 3 recurring themes related to product satisfaction, 1 major pain point, and any positive surprises that could shape future updates. That kind of prompt gives structure, it gives context, and it invites the AI to be a thinking partner, not just a word machine. And you can teach this mindset to your team. You show them that prompts are not throwaway tasks, they're strategic. You encourage them to be clear about goals, to define the format they want, and to always fact-check before relying on AI-generated insights. This turns AI into a tool of empowerment rather than confusion. And that's the kind of culture a leader creates. There's also a deeper mindset that AI-literate leaders develop. They become comfortable with evolving tools. They don't fall in love with one app or platform. They understand that what's useful today might be outdated tomorrow. So they stay open. They encourage their teams to be adaptable. They reward curiosity. For instance, maybe your team uses one AI tool for design right now, but a new one enters the market that can do more with less. Instead of resisting the switch, you might hold a short workshop. Let's compare both tools, you say. Let's see where the new one helps us and where it doesn't. That kind of openness fosters growth. It sends the message that innovation is welcome, but it must be tested with purpose. That's also why community matters. AI-literate leaders don't learn in isolation. They join communities, online or offline, where they can share discoveries, ask questions, and learn from others' experiences. Maybe that's a LinkedIn group of tech-forward leaders. Maybe it's a local innovation hub. Or maybe it's a Slack channel where your team shares their favorite prompts and tools. What matters is that you're part of a learning ecosystem, because no one sees the whole picture alone. And this idea of shared growth brings us to one more truth. AI literacy doesn't start at the top, it spreads from the middle. You might be a mid-level manager, a startup founder, or even a solo entrepreneur. But when you embrace AI learning, others notice. You model a posture of curiosity. You normalize the process of experimenting and even failing. You make it okay to say, I don't know, but I'm learning. And that attitude ripples out across your organization. In the long run, AI-literate leadership builds stronger companies. Teams move faster because they're not bogged down by confusion. Decisions become more grounded because they're based on both data and context. Cultures become more resilient because people feel equipped instead of threatened. So as this chapter closes, here's the takeaway. Becoming AI literate is not a tech skill. It's a human one. It's about asking better questions. It's about balancing speed with ethics. It's about leading people, not just through the use of AI, but through the meaning of it. If you're willing to learn, willing to translate, and willing to lead with heart, then you're already on the path. Not just to keep up, but to shape the very future others will follow. Because in this era, the best leaders aren't just smart about AI, they're deeply human in how they use it. Chapter 3: Emotional Intelligence in the Age of Algorithms. In a world dominated by algorithms, it's tempting to believe that logic and speed will define the future. Machines analyze faster, optimize better, and generate results with extraordinary efficiency. But as AI grows more capable, there's one quality it still can't replicate, and that's emotional intelligence. If artificial intelligence is about processing data, then emotional intelligence is about processing people. And in leadership, that difference is everything. Let's begin with a clear truth. Emotional intelligence is not soft, it's strategic. It's not about being nice, it's about being aware, being able to read a room. Being able to sense tension before it erupts, motivation before it fades, trust before it breaks. These skills aren't just helpful, they're foundational in a workplace where change happens daily and stress runs high. Here's why this matters now more than ever. As AI systems become more involved in decision-making, screening resumes, grading students, suggesting actions, people start feeling like numbers, like data points instead of individuals. That subtle shift, if left unaddressed, creates disconnection. And disconnection kills creativity, loyalty, and resilience. But a leader with emotional intelligence steps in and restores the human element. They create spaces where people feel seen again. So what exactly is emotional intelligence? It's the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, and to recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others. In practical terms, this means knowing how to respond when your team is overwhelmed, knowing how to calm a client when they're frustrated, knowing how to give feedback that lands with clarity, not shame. Emotional intelligence shows up in the everyday interactions that shape culture, loyalty, and performance. Let's bring this into an AI context. Imagine you lead a team that just adopted a powerful automation tool. Productivity spikes, but the energy in the room drops. A few people go quiet. Others crack nervous jokes about being replaced. The numbers look great, but morale is slipping. This is a moment where emotional intelligence becomes leadership's superpower. You pause, you notice the unease, and instead of pushing harder, you create a space to talk. You say, let's check in, not just on the tool, but on how we're feeling about it. That one sentence changes everything. It signals that emotions matter here, that people matter. And it's not about having all the answers. It's about being present enough to ask the right questions. Questions like, what does this change mean to you? What's been hard about this transition? How can I support you better? Emotional intelligence turns change into conversation, not just compliance. Leaders in the AI era need to master this skill because machines don't sense tension in the air. They don't notice the pause in someone's voice or the look of doubt in their eyes. But leaders do. And those signals carry the truth behind the metrics. A team might be delivering results, but also quietly burning out. A client might be nodding in agreement while planning to walk away. Emotional intelligence allows you to tune into what's really going on, even when the numbers say everything's fine. And this is where emotional intelligence and AI can actually work together. Because the better your emotional intelligence, the better your prompts. You ask more thoughtful questions. You frame tasks in ways that consider your team's needs. For example, instead of prompting an AI with "create a strict content calendar for my team," an emotionally intelligent leader might prompt it with "generate a flexible, realistic content calendar that includes space for creativity, team input, and built-in rest points." That subtle shift transforms how the tool supports your people, not just your deadlines. Another powerful moment where emotional intelligence matters is during feedback. AI tools might help track performance metrics. They might even suggest who is underperforming, but they won't tell you why. They won't consider someone's mental health, their family situation, or the way a project drained their motivation. That's where you come in. A leader doesn't just see the dip, they seek the story. Let's say you notice a dip in your top performer's output. You don't just quote the data. You schedule a one-on-one and say, "I've noticed your workload has been heavier lately and the numbers are showing a slight shift. How are you holding up?" That's emotional intelligence. It opens a door instead of drawing a conclusion. And often, it leads to breakthroughs you wouldn't have reached otherwise. But emotional intelligence isn't just for team dynamics. It also shapes how leaders handle themselves. Because in a fast-changing AI world, frustration, fear, and fatigue are common. And if you're not emotionally aware of your own reactions, you risk leading from stress instead of wisdom. Self-awareness is the foundation. It means recognizing your triggers, noticing when your tone gets sharp or when your patience wears thin. It means being able to pause and reset so your team sees a leader who responds, not one who reacts. It also means managing your emotional energy, because leadership is not about constant output. It's about sustaining presence. You might be juggling 5 deadlines, fielding resistance to new tech, and managing expectations from upper leadership, all while trying to stay human. And that's where self-regulation becomes vital. You breathe, you recenter, you show up grounded. And that emotional consistency becomes a steady force your team can rely on, even in chaos. And empathy. Real, practiced empathy is the connector in all of this. Empathy is not agreeing with everyone. It's understanding where they're coming from. It's putting yourself in their shoes before responding. In the AI age, empathy is what bridges the gap between rapid change and real people. It says, I know this new tool changes how you work, let's figure it out together. It says, I see this disruption has made things unclear, let's talk through it. Empathy builds trust, and trust accelerates everything. Let's not forget, trust isn't built by being perfect. It's built by being consistent, fair, and human. And trust is the invisible currency of leadership in a time when algorithms influence more decisions than ever before. When people know you care about how they feel, not just what they do, they'll follow you even through uncertainty. This is the kind of leadership the AI era demands. Not colder, not harder, but more emotionally intelligent than ever. And as we move forward into more automation, into more augmented decisions, emotional intelligence becomes not just a soft skill, but a competitive advantage. Because people follow clarity, they follow care, and they follow leaders who don't just manage data, but who master the art of being human in a world run by machines. As emotional intelligence rises in importance, so does the leader's responsibility to create emotionally safe environments. These are places where people can express concerns without fear, share feedback without defensiveness, and explore change without panic. Because when people feel emotionally safe, they become more adaptable. And adaptability is the true superpower of the AI era. So how do you build this emotional safety? You start by modeling it. If you want people to be open, you must be open first. If you want honesty, you must show vulnerability. That doesn't mean oversharing or collapsing in front of your team. It means saying things like, I don't have all the answers yet, but here's what I'm thinking. Or, I know this transition has been tough. I've felt it too. Those moments signal to your team, it's okay to feel, it's okay to be real. You also build emotional safety by honoring emotional labor. In workplaces now, especially those using AI, many people are doing invisible work, helping others cope, answering questions that automation can't handle, dealing with the emotional weight of change. This isn't listed in job descriptions, but it's essential, and leaders who see it and appreciate it build strong, loyal teams. Now let's look at emotional intelligence during conflict. AI might detect a problem in your systems, but it won't resolve a disagreement between two team members. It won't navigate the quiet resentment building between departments. That requires empathy, communication, and courage. Great leaders don't avoid tension. They engage it with wisdom. They listen without interrupting. They reflect back what they've heard. They don't rush to fix. They allow space to understand. And when the moment comes, they frame solutions in ways that respect everyone's dignity. Emotional intelligence doesn't mean avoiding conflict. It means transforming it. Here's a scenario. Your product team is frustrated with your marketing team. The marketers are using AI-generated copy, and the product folks feel it misrepresents the nuance of what they built. Tempers rise. Emails get passive-aggressive. What do? You don't just bring both teams into a room and say, let's be nice. You use emotional intelligence. You say, let's begin by naming what's felt off, not just what's gone wrong. You encourage both sides to speak from experience, not accusation. You listen. You clarify. And then you say, here's what I think we can build from this. A process where AI is used collaboratively, not in isolation. That conversation doesn't just resolve tension. It builds a culture. And that's really the heart of this chapter. Emotional intelligence is not just a tool. In AI-enhanced organizations, where speed and output are rising, the risk of burnout is real. And not just physical burnout, but emotional depletion. The feeling of being less human in a system that feels more mechanical. But emotionally intelligent leaders protect against that. They check in. They pace the work. They offer appreciation that's specific, not generic. They create rhythms of restoration, not just performance. And let's not ignore this. Emotional intelligence also helps leaders spot who's being left behind. As AI adoption spreads, some employees will thrive, but others will silently struggle. They might fear being replaced, feel confused about new tools, or worry they're too slow to keep up. The data won't show their fear, but you will. If you're paying attention, you'll notice who avoids eye contact in meetings, who says less during tech demos, who makes jokes about feeling old school. These are not signs of laziness. They're signals of loss. And a leader with emotional intelligence doesn't shame them. They support them. They say, let's learn together. You don't have to master this overnight. I've got your back. That one statement can change someone's entire outlook. Now here's something deeper. Emotional intelligence gives leaders an edge, not just in leading people, but in leading systems. Because the more you understand how emotions drive decisions, the more wisely you can design your organization. You'll know that a well-timed celebration increases motivation, that a clear explanation reduces anxiety, that naming fear doesn't weaken trust, it strengthens it. And it's not about being emotionally perfect, it's about being emotionally present. You don't need to be a therapist, you just need to care, to ask, to notice, to reflect. That's what people remember, not your perfect plans, but your human presence. Even in digital environments, emotional intelligence matters. If you're leading a remote or hybrid team, you don't have the luxury of hallway chats. You don't see body language as often, which means you must become more intentional, more thoughtful in your messages, more aware of tone, more generous with your time. A one-line check-in like, "How are you really doing?" can make someone feel deeply seen, especially in a world of automated replies. And when your team uses AI tools like chatbots, transcription software, or content generators, you can lead by asking, does this help us or harm us? Not just in function, but in feeling. Does it make the work easier, or does it make us feel more replaceable? Those questions show leadership that's not just efficient, but emotionally intelligent. Let's not forget how emotional intelligence plays out during transitions. Maybe you're rolling out a company-wide AI system. You've trained the team, you've communicated the purpose, but still there's pushback. This is not the time to force compliance. It's time to deepen understanding. Ask, what part of this feels unsettling? What do you need to feel supported? Those questions open trust. They create space for real progress, not just surface agreement. And when mistakes happen, as they always do, emotional intelligence shapes your response. You can blame the tool, blame the user, or you can lead. You can say, this didn't go how we planned. Let's step back, learn from it, and find a better way. That response shows strength, not perfection, but integrity. And that's the kind of leadership people follow. As this chapter comes to a close, here's what I want you to remember. The machines will keep learning, the tools will keep advancing, but emotional intelligence will remain the difference between a good leader and a great one, between a team that survives and a team that thrives. Emotional intelligence is not a soft skill in the age of AI. It is the skill. It's the presence that turns fear into focus, confusion into clarity, resistance into resilience. It's the leadership advantage that can't be automated. And if you choose to lead this way, with awareness, empathy, and emotional presence, you won't just adapt to the future. You'll shape it. Chapter 4. Leading Hybrid Teams, Humans and AI. We've entered a new era of teamwork, one that doesn't just involve people working side by side, but people and intelligent machines working together. This is what we now call a hybrid team. But unlike hybrid work models where people split time between office and home, hybrid teams in the AI era are made of both humans and artificial intelligence tools, aligned toward a shared goal. This isn't science fiction. It's already happening in boardrooms, classrooms, hospitals, and creative studios around the world. A content team uses an AI tool to generate article outlines. A financial firm uses a machine learning model to detect transaction risks. A doctor reviews an AI-assisted diagnosis before making the final call. In all of these cases, the team is no longer just made of humans. It's made of humans and systems. And this changes the nature of leadership. Because leading hybrid teams is not just about managing tasks. It's about managing interactions between people and tools, understanding what the AI does well, where it falls short, and how humans can work smarter by collaborating with it instead of competing against it. So let's begin with this truth. AI is not your employee, but it is now part of your team. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't take lunch breaks, but it also doesn't think critically, feel pressure, or understand goals the way your people do. That's why the leader's role in a hybrid team becomes more nuanced. You are not just coordinating people, you are orchestrating a relationship between humans and machines. And every relationship depends on trust, clarity, and good communication. The first thing a leader must do is redefine what teamwork means in this new setting. In traditional teams, roles are assigned by skill, experience, and availability. But in a hybrid team, leaders must ask, which tasks are best handled by AI and which require human judgment? For example, AI might be great for sorting data or generating content drafts, but it shouldn't replace human insight when making ethical decisions or understanding tone in sensitive conversations. So the modern leader must master a new kind of delegation, not just who does what, but what does the machine do and what must stay human. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine you manage a customer support team. You introduce an AI chatbot to handle common questions. The goal is to reduce response time and free up your human staff for more complex issues. It works well at first, but after a few weeks, customer satisfaction begins to drop. You find out that users are frustrated by the bot's scripted responses and lack of empathy. Now you have a decision to make. Do you remove the AI entirely, or do you adjust its role? A strong leader will reassign the AI to only handle specific inquiries, like order tracking or password resets, while routing emotionally sensitive or urgent issues directly to a human. This is what it means to co-lead with AI. You're not just managing tools, you're optimizing workflows around real human needs. The next key to leading hybrid teams is communicating expectations clearly, not just to people, but about the AI. Your team must understand what the system is designed to do, where its limits are, and how they're supposed to interact with it. Otherwise, confusion and frustration will set in quickly. Let's say your sales team is using an AI tool to predict which leads are most likely to convert. Some reps start ignoring low-score leads completely, even though those leads may actually have potential. Others follow the AI rankings blindly, without questioning them. In this case, the leader needs to step in and set expectations. This tool is here to support your judgment, not replace it. If something looks off, ask why. Don't assume the model is always right. And that brings us to a core leadership principle for hybrid teams. Keep humans in the loop. When AI makes a suggestion, human review should still be part of the process, especially in high-impact areas like hiring, safety, medicine, or law. You don't want a system deciding alone. You want a system that partners with people. One practical way to do this is to design decision checkpoints into your team's process. For example, a machine may score applicants in a hiring funnel, but a human should always make the final call, looking not just at data points, but at personality, cultural fit, and unique strengths the system can't measure. Why is this so important? Because hybrid teams must preserve human values, not just machine efficiency. AI can help you go faster, but only humans can ask whether you're heading in the right direction. That's where leadership comes in. Here's another reality of hybrid teams. Your people will respond to AI differently. Some will be excited, curious, ready to explore. Others will feel threatened or skeptical. Some might quietly disengage, and this emotional layer must be handled with care. Leaders can't just throw tools at teams and expect adoption. You need to coach people through the transition. That means creating space for questions, explaining not just what the tool does, but why it matters. Framing the AI as a support, not a threat. You might say something like, "We're adding this AI to help reduce repetitive work, so you have more time to focus on what you do best." Creative thinking and real customer relationships. It's not about replacement, it's about elevation. That shift in tone makes all the difference, and that tone must come from the top. Also, leaders of hybrid teams must track performance differently. In traditional settings, you might evaluate team success by looking at task completion, revenue, or output. But in AI-powered teams, part of the success depends on how well humans and machines interact. So now, your leadership should also look at, how much time are we saving using AI tools? Are people using the systems as intended, or are they bypassing them? Do we trust the AI outputs, or are we double-checking everything? Is the tool reducing burnout or adding complexity? These aren't just tech questions. They're leadership questions. Because if you're not measuring the real human-machine interaction, you might miss warning signs early. A flashy new system might look efficient on paper, but if it's frustrating your team or damaging morale, it's not working. Leaders who pay attention to these signals build stronger hybrid teams. Another evolving responsibility is reskilling your team to thrive with AI. Hybrid teams are only successful when humans know how to use the systems effectively. That means training must evolve. It's not just about onboarding the software. It's about teaching prompt writing, system oversight, and ethical awareness. You might organize monthly workshops or share simple best practice guides. You might even encourage peer-led learning, where one team member who enjoys using the tool mentors another. In a hybrid team, learning is not a side task. It's the core of staying relevant. And let's be honest, AI tools are evolving so fast that even you, the leader, won't always feel confident. But that's okay. The best leaders admit what they don't know and learn openly. This vulnerability builds trust and models growth. You can say, "I'm learning too. Let's explore this together." That one sentence can unlock collaboration across your team. Let's now talk about one of the biggest mindset shifts leaders must make when managing hybrid teams. In a human-only team, success is often about alignment, getting everyone on the same page, moving toward a shared vision. But in a human and AI team, alignment has to happen across two very different types of intelligence. One is emotional, intuitive, and constantly learning from relationships. The other is computational, data-driven, and entirely dependent on its inputs and design. Leading well means understanding both and knowing how to bridge the gap. That means leaders must become translators of intent. A human team member might take a vague idea and run with it, but AI systems need precise instruction. If you want good results, you have to feed the system clear goals, structured prompts, and consistent parameters. This means one of your new leadership tasks is actually prompt design, learning how to communicate with your AI tools just as clearly as you do with people. And the better you prompt, the better the output. But this also means you need to teach your team how to prompt too. That's a leadership responsibility now, coaching your team on how to interact productively with intelligent systems. Just like you'd once teach a new hire how to write a great client email, you now need to teach them how to write a clear and effective prompt for your AI assistant. But don't worry, this isn't about becoming an engineer. It's about becoming fluent in the new language of teamwork. And that language includes being intentional with words like tone, audience, format, task, and goal. These are the cues that help machines understand what humans want. Now let's take this to a broader view. Hybrid teams also create opportunities for innovation that weren't possible before. You're not limited to just human capacity anymore. An idea that might have taken 10 hours to explore can now be prototyped in one. A market report that would have needed a research firm can be drafted with AI in minutes. But here's the key. This speed only becomes valuable when it's connected to human vision. That's where leadership shines. AI can show you trends, but you choose the strategy. AI can generate 10 headlines, but you choose the one that best aligns with your brand. AI can offer suggestions, but you decide what your customers actually need. Machines expand possibilities. Leaders turn those possibilities into direction. In fact, one of the best uses of AI in a hybrid team is idea generation. AI is a fantastic brainstorming partner, but it still needs you to evaluate, to shape, to refine. You might ask your team to use AI to generate campaign ideas, product names, or customer personas. Then gather together to review what came up, mix ideas, and add your own. This hybrid creativity, powered by both speed and insight, is a competitive advantage. Let's go deeper on another important issue: ethics. In a hybrid team, ethical leadership becomes even more essential. AI tools don't understand context unless they're told. They don't understand fairness unless fairness is built into their data and design. That means human leaders must take full responsibility for how AI is used. You can't delegate your ethics to an algorithm. Say you're using an AI system to evaluate job applicants. It helps reduce time. But what if the data it learned from was biased? What if it consistently favors certain universities or demographics without your knowledge? This is where leaders must ask hard questions. Not just is it working, But is it working fairly? And if not, you pause, you adjust, you speak up. That's why diversity in your leadership thinking is so critical. Diverse teams raise diverse questions. They spot blind spots. They challenge assumptions. And in a world where AI can scale decisions fast, those questions matter more than ever. Let's also talk about emotional intelligence, because this is something no AI brings to the table. Machines don't feel stress, but people working in hybrid environments do. They worry about being replaced. They worry about being misunderstood by the system. They might even feel invisible as more tasks are automated. That's why emotionally intelligent leadership is no longer optional. It's essential. You must be able to read the room, even when it's quiet. You must be willing to ask, "How are you feeling about this shift?" and truly listen. You must recognize that sometimes resistance is not laziness, it's uncertainty. Sometimes silence is not agreement, it's confusion. Hybrid teams thrive when human emotions are seen, heard, and respected. And let's be clear, creating space for emotion is not weakness, it's wisdom. Because trust, morale, and confidence are still the fuel that move people forward. And even in a tech-powered team, human momentum matters most. This leads to another key leadership trait in hybrid teams, modeling adaptability. The best leaders don't act like they've figured it all out. They show that learning is ongoing, that adapting to new tools is part of the journey, that feedback is welcome. And when your team sees you navigating change with grace, they'll feel safer to do the same. You might say, "I'm still figuring out how to make the most of this tool. If you find a better way, share it with us. We're building this together." That one sentence turns change into collaboration. So what does success really look like in a hybrid team? It's not just high output, it's meaningful output. It's a culture where people feel empowered by technology, not defeated by it. It's a rhythm where AI accelerates possibilities and people still drive purpose. A great hybrid team is one where humans feel their creativity is multiplied, not muted. Machines handle the repeatable so people can focus on the remarkable. Systems support judgment but don't silence it. Efficiency rises, but empathy stays. And behind all of that is you, the leader, the one who sets the tone, the one who protects the human mission, even as tools get smarter. The one who reminds the team that yes, the future includes AI, but it's people who still define what the future means. So don't fear the hybrid model. Lead it, shape it, elevate it. Because in the end, the best teams won't be the fastest or the most automated. They'll be the ones that know how to bring together the power of machines and the soul of humans to build something better than either could do alone. Chapter 5: Strategy in the AI Era. Strategy has always been the heartbeat of leadership. It's how organizations set direction, anticipate change, and position themselves for the future. But in the AI era, the very nature of strategy is being transformed. We're no longer making decisions in a world where information is scarce. We're making decisions in a world where data is everywhere, and where intelligent systems can analyze that data faster than any human ever could. So what does it mean to build strategy now? It means learning how to think beyond just plans and goals. It means thinking in systems, in cycles, in probabilities. And it means knowing how to harness the power of AI not just to move faster, but to think deeper. Let's begin here. AI doesn't replace strategy. It reshapes it. In the past, strategy was based on experience, instinct, market research, and sometimes even gut feeling. Leaders would gather in a room, review past performance, and draw conclusions. Now AI can surface insights in seconds that would have taken teams weeks to uncover. It can model thousands of scenarios at once. It can predict patterns based on customer behavior, economic shifts, and even global sentiment. But here's the truth. AI gives you the map. It's still up to human leaders to choose the destination. And that's where strategic thinking now shifts from what should we do to what will matter most. That question, what matters most, is the beginning of good strategy in the AI age. Because with so much data and so many options, it's easy to drown in possibility. AI will always offer more ideas, more options, more projections. But strategy isn't about choosing everything. It's about choosing wisely. Choosing what aligns with your mission, what your people can realistically execute, what creates long-term value, not just short-term noise. So the modern strategist must become a filter, a lens, a pattern seer. Let's walk through an example. Imagine you run an e-commerce brand. Your AI analytics tool reveals 5 major trends: rising interest in eco-friendly products, a surge in short-form video marketing, higher cart abandonment on mobile, increased competition from global sellers, and a new opportunity in niche personalization. That's a lot. You can't tackle all 5 at once. So how do you decide what to focus on? This is where strategy meets clarity. An AI-powered strategist will not just chase the trend. They'll weigh each one against the company's unique strengths, timing, audience, and capacity. They'll say, we're not the biggest brand, but we are agile. Personalization fits us, let's lean in there. That's the kind of leadership AI can't do. It can inform the possibilities. But only humans decide which possibility becomes a priority. And that brings us to a crucial point. AI gives you faster answers, but only strategy turns answers into action. This means that as a leader, your new responsibility is not to memorize every AI tool, but to master the questions that guide their use. Questions like, what problem are we actually trying to solve? What will success look like? How will we know if this data is reliable? What's the long-term effect if this short-term move succeeds? These are human questions. They shape the guardrails for AI to operate within. They keep technology aligned with values. Another big shift in strategy now is speed. Traditional strategy cycles were quarterly, annually. You'd plan, execute, review, repeat. But in the AI world, the game moves faster. Data updates in real time, consumer sentiment shifts by the hour, new tools appear weekly. So the strategist of today must become more agile, more iterative. That doesn't mean abandoning long-term vision, it means holding the destination steady while adjusting the route often. Think of it like sailing, the destination is set, but if the wind changes, you shift your sails. Strategy in the AI era works the same way. AI gives you early warnings, faster feedback, and multiple paths. Your job is to stay awake at the wheel, responding without overreacting, adjusting without panicking. And this also introduces a new kind of discipline. When you have more options, the danger isn't lack of ideas, it's lack of focus. That's why one of the most valuable strategic skills now is prioritization. What will move the needle? What can wait? What must be done by humans? And what can be automated? The strategist must answer these questions with ruthless clarity. Let's consider a public health organization rolling out AI to detect early signs of disease in remote areas. The system flags multiple health concerns based on patterns in data, but budgets are limited, resources are scarce. Do you address the most common issues first, or the most deadly? Do you focus on prevention or treatment? This is where leadership, ethics, and strategy meet. AI will show you the patterns, but only strategy, rooted in values, can tell you what to act on. And in this way, strategy becomes not just data-driven, but purpose-driven. We must also talk about how AI changes the collaboration inside strategy teams. In the past, strategic planning was often a closed room. Senior leaders, maybe some analysts, maybe a consultant. But now AI allows more inclusive strategy development. You can gather employee insights at scale, run sentiment analysis across customer feedback, and use generative tools to co-create prototypes, messages, even scenarios. Strategy is no longer a top-down memo. It's a dynamic, living process. And that means the best strategies are not only smart, they are shared. A team that understands the strategy can execute with confidence. They don't need constant direction. They're aligned. That's the leader's job now. Not just to write the plan, but to make the plan visible, understandable, and actionable. As we move through the rest of this chapter, we'll go deeper into tools, mental models, and strategic frameworks that work well in this new environment. But let this foundation stay clear. Strategy in the AI era is no longer about trying to outthink machines. It's about knowing how to think with them, critically, creatively, and above all, humanely. Because while AI can show us the landscape, it's still human wisdom that sets the course. Now let's explore what it actually looks like to build strategy in the AI era, not just in concept, but in practice. A great strategy today starts with intelligent inputs. In the past, teams relied on slow market studies, focus groups, and historical performance. Those still have value, but now leaders have access to real-time data and predictive analytics. AI can spot patterns in consumer behavior, product performance, or even social sentiment faster than any manual process could manage. But here's the challenge. More data doesn't automatically mean better strategy. It only means better strategy is possible if leaders know how to interpret and apply it. So a modern strategist must get comfortable with noise, with volume, with dashboards that change hourly. And their real value isn't in memorizing numbers, it's in discerning signal from noise, seeing what really matters amidst everything AI throws on the table. Let's say you're in charge of product development. Your AI tool tells you Fruity. Feature A has a 67% user satisfaction rating, while Feature B has 91%. But your long-term brand strategy is built around Feature A. It's the differentiator. You now face a choice: chase the higher-performing feature in the short term, or double down on your core promise. This is the tension modern strategists live in every day. AI shows you what's happening. Strategy helps you decide what matters. Now, this doesn't mean throwing out the data. It means interpreting it in light of purpose, timing, and context. That's how you move from insight to impact. And this leads us to one of the most powerful strategic tools in the AI era: scenario planning. Before, leaders used historical data to project future outcomes. But in a world shaped by AI, historical trends aren't always reliable. Change is faster, disruption more frequent. So smart strategy now involves building flexible mental models of what could happen and preparing for multiple futures. With the help of AI, you can now simulate those futures with greater ease. Let's say you lead a logistics company. You can prompt your AI system to generate 3 potential scenarios: one where fuel prices rise, one where urban regulation limits delivery access, and one where drone delivery becomes mainstream. In each case, your team can explore what new strategies might be needed. That preparation doesn't lock you into a path. It frees you to respond with clarity when change comes. The keyword here is optionality. Great strategies now build room for movement, for revision, for pivoting when necessary without losing purpose. And speaking of purpose, there's another strategic shift AI demands: the recentering of human needs. While AI can predict behavior, it doesn't understand meaning. It doesn't feel emotion or grasp cultural nuance. So any strategy that only optimizes for clicks, conversions, or efficiency will eventually fall short. Today's consumers and employees want more than smart systems. They want smart values. They want to know your organization sees them, hears them, and stands for something real. That's why strategic brand positioning must now be both tech-savvy and human-centered. For example, you might use AI to find the most engaging words for your campaign, but your message still has to mean something. It still has to tell the truth. Because audiences now have AI tools too, and they can spot manipulation. They can filter noise. So authenticity becomes strategic currency. Another new dimension in AI-era strategy is ethics. Yes, ethics is now a strategic domain, not just a compliance box. Think of a company that decides to roll out facial recognition technology. From a performance standpoint, it might improve access speed, reduce security risks, even enhance personalization. But from a public perception standpoint, it could raise concerns about privacy, bias, or surveillance. If the rollout goes badly, the cost is not just technical, it's reputational. In that moment, ethics is strategy. A future-focused strategist will ask, who could be harmed by this innovation? What do we gain and what might we lose in trust? Are we solving a problem people actually want solved? AI can't answer those questions. But they matter deeply, because in a machine world, it's human responsibility that defines the culture. Now let's talk briefly about execution, because no strategy lives on paper alone. One mistake leaders make is assuming that having access to AI automatically makes execution faster. In some ways, it does. AI can draft outlines, sort data, streamline outreach, but in other cases, it can create new friction, especially when teams don't know how to use the tools well or feel unsure about how decisions are being made. So execution in the AI era must be accompanied by education. Everyone involved in the rollout of a strategy must understand the why behind the tech being used, not just the how. A successful AI-powered strategy also involves checkpoints. These are moments where human teams stop to assess the role of the tools. Is the AI still serving the goal we set? Have the insights shifted since launch? Is our team becoming more confident or more confused? By building these pauses into your strategy process, you create space for reflection, adjustment, and recommitment. And finally, the most strategic move of all in this age, keep people at the center. In a world of infinite inputs and automated options, the ultimate strategic edge is not more data. It's deeper discernment. It's asking what truly creates value, for real humans, not just users on a dashboard. It's building missions that matter and then letting AI accelerate them, not replace them. That's the new strategic mindset. Strategy used to be about what the company wants to do. Now it's about what the world needs, and how you, with the help of smart tools, can rise to meet it. Because in the AI era, the winners won't just be the most efficient, they'll be the most intentional. Chapter 6: The Ethics of Leadership and AIs. We are no longer leading in a world where human decisions are the only ones that matter. Algorithms now shape what we see, what we buy, where we work, and how we're judged. Leaders today are no longer only responsible for people and policies, they're also responsible for the systems that influence them. That's why ethics has moved from the margins of leadership to the very center of it. In the AI era, leadership without ethics is not just incomplete, it's dangerous. Let's begin with the hard truth. Most AI systems aren't neutral. They reflect the data they're trained on, the priorities of the companies that build them, and the assumptions baked into their algorithms. So while they may appear objective, they often carry hidden biases. Biases that can affect who gets hired, who gets promoted, who gets flagged for risk, and who gets ignored. As a leader, you don't need to understand every line of code to lead ethically. But you do need to ask ethical questions, early, often, and loudly. You need to ask, who benefits from this system? Who might be harmed? What assumptions are built into the model? Who gets to decide what fair means? Ethical leadership in the AI era means taking responsibility for outcomes you didn't personally create, but still have the power to influence. Let's consider a real-world example. A large company rolls out an AI hiring tool designed to speed up recruitment. The system scans resumes and ranks candidates based on a model trained on the company's historical hiring data. But over time, the tool begins favoring candidates from certain schools, with certain names and certain career patterns, replicating old biases that were never questioned. Diversity drops, innovation stalls. The company blames the system. But who trained the system? Who approved its use? Who monitored its impact? Ethical leadership means seeing that tools don't remove responsibility, they demand more of it. Because when a decision is influenced by AI, the leader's role isn't lessened, it's magnified. Now let's take this deeper. There are three major areas where ethics and AI leadership intersect: to bias, transparency, and accountability. First, let's talk about bias. AI learns from data, and most data reflects the past. If the past includes racial bias, gender bias, economic bias, or cultural exclusion, that bias can be encoded into the system, even if unintentionally. And once it's encoded, it can scale fast. A biased manager can affect a few people. A biased algorithm can affect millions. So what do ethical leaders do? They don't just rely on vendor promises. They ask tough questions. They bring in diverse perspectives. They test systems for fairness across all demographics. They look for blind spots, not just in the technology, but in their own assumptions. They also acknowledge that fixing bias is not a one-time act. It's an ongoing process of refinement, reflection, and humility. Now, the second ethical area is transparency. Many AI tools operate like black boxes. They take inputs, produce outputs, but don't always reveal how decisions were made. This can create major trust issues, especially when the stakes are high. Imagine a healthcare system that denies coverage based on an AI risk score. If the patient asks, "Why was I denied?" and no one can explain the reasoning, that's not just bad service, it's an ethical failure. Leaders must ensure that the AI systems they use can be explained, not in technical jargon, but in clear, understandable terms. If a system influences hiring, pricing, discipline, or access, people deserve to know how those decisions are made. Transparency builds trust, and trust is not a luxury in leadership. It's a foundation. Now, the third ethical area is accountability. This is where many organizations struggle. When a machine makes a mistake, whose fault is it? The programmer, the leader, the company? Ethical leadership begins by rejecting the blame game. It starts by saying, If we use this tool, we own its outcomes. It means putting policies in place before rollout, not after something goes wrong. It means being proactive, not reactive. Let's take another real-life scenario. A retail chain uses an AI tool to predict employee theft risk based on work schedules, transaction patterns, and historical loss prevention reports. One employee is flagged by the system and disciplined, despite having no prior record. Later, it's discovered that the tool disproportionately flags people working night shifts in high-traffic stores, many of whom come from marginalized communities. In this moment, leadership cannot shrug and say the system told us so. It must pause and ask, was the tool fair? Was it tested for bias? Was it explained clearly to the employees? Was there a human review before action was taken? This is ethical leadership in action, not just asking what's legal, but asking what's right. And this brings us to an essential truth. Ethical decisions often cost something. They might cost time. They might slow implementation. They might require saying no to powerful tools that deliver short-term results. But leadership is not about taking shortcuts. It's about standing for something that lasts. The pressure in the AI world is real. Faster predictions, higher productivity, leaner operations. But ethical leaders ask, at what cost and to whom? That kind of thinking isn't soft. It's strategic. Because unethical decisions, even if hidden for a while, will surface. They'll erode trust, invite scrutiny, damage brands, and most importantly, they'll harm people. So ethics must not be a side department. It must be a leadership mindset. It must shape how you evaluate tools, how you train teams, how you communicate change, and how you respond when things go wrong. In a machine world, ethics is not an add-on. It's your core advantage. Because when your people trust the systems you choose, they'll follow you more boldly into the future. When your customers believe you care more about fairness than just profit, they'll stay loyal, even when others offer more features. And when your leadership is rooted in principle, not just performance, you won't just adapt to the AI age. You'll lead it with integrity. So how do leaders actually build ethical systems in a world moving this fast? It begins by making ethics operational, not just aspirational. It's easy to say your organization values fairness, inclusion, or transparency. But unless those values are built into the way decisions are made, into the tools you choose, and into how your teams are trained, they won't hold under pressure. Ethics must become part of your workflows, your reviews, your questions, and your culture. Let's start with a practical tool, ethical checkpoints. Think of them like guardrails that keep you aligned. Before adopting a new AI system, pause and ask, what data is this system trained on? Could this data reflect outdated, harmful, or narrow worldviews? Does this tool affect people's access to jobs, education, healthcare, or justice? Who is most at risk if it goes wrong? Is there a process for humans to override decisions? Asking these questions at the beginning protects you from crises down the road, but it also builds credibility. Your team sees that you don't just chase speed, you lead with wisdom. Ethical leaders also know that even with all the right questions, you can't see every risk alone. That's why the next essential move is building diverse input. Involve people from different roles, backgrounds, and perspectives when evaluating and deploying AI tools. What one group sees as efficient, another may see as unfair. What feels safe to one team might feel invasive to another. When ethical decisions are made in a vacuum, blind spots become risks. But when decisions are made with a fuller range of human input, your systems become smarter and more just. Now let's address something every leader will face, an ethical dilemma. These are the moments when doing what's fast or profitable might conflict with what's right. AI will present more of these moments, not fewer. Let's say your marketing team is excited about a new AI tool that can generate personalized messages based on user behavior. It promises more engagement, better conversions. But the tool also scrapes personal data in ways your customers never knowingly agreed to. You could go ahead and use it. Legally, it might be fine. But ethically, that's your call. This is where the leader's voice becomes essential. You can say, if our customers didn't opt in, we don't use their data this way. We'll find a better way, even if it takes longer. That decision may not win the next quarter, but it builds the kind of trust that lasts for years. Ethical leadership also means admitting when something didn't go well. There will be moments when a tool fails, when a system makes an unfair decision, when an outcome causes harm. In those moments, leaders must show accountability. That means not hiding the mistake, not blaming the tech, but saying, here's what happened, here's what we learned, here's what we're doing to fix it. That honesty doesn't make you weaker, it makes you stronger. It shows your team and your customers that your ethics are not just words on a wall, they are the way you operate. There's also something leaders must prepare for now: public scrutiny. In the AI age, ethical failures don't stay hidden. If your tool discriminates, if your process is unfair, if your customers feel misled, it can become public fast. And in a connected world, reputations rise or fall not just on innovation, but on integrity. That's why leaders must think ahead, not just react. What will you say if this tool creates a bias issue? What will you do if a partner's AI system violates your values? Thinking ethically isn't about fear, it's about readiness. Let's shift now to something just as important: team culture. Ethical organizations don't just have ethical leaders, they have ethical teams. That means creating an environment where people feel safe to speak up when something seems off. It means rewarding those who raise concerns, not silencing them. You can say to your team, if you ever see a system make a decision that doesn't feel right, I want to hear about it. Not to blame, but to learn. You can also train your team on what ethical use of AI looks like. Short workshops, scenario discussions, and internal guidelines can go a long way. And don't just train once. Make it part of the rhythm. Because as the tools evolve, so must your awareness. And here's something else to remember. Ethics is not about being perfect. You will make mistakes. You will learn things late. You will realize something you thought was smart actually missed the mark. But ethical leadership isn't about flawless decisions. It's about consistent alignment with what matters most. It's about caring enough to stay curious, to ask, to adjust, to lead from values, not just from outcomes. That's the kind of leadership the AI age needs. It needs people who can look at a powerful new tool and say, before we launch this, let's make sure it serves people, not just metrics. It needs people who can say, we care more about our customers' trust than about saving time with shortcuts. It needs people who can stand in a room and say, here's what we believe, and here's how we live it, even when it costs something. Ethics is no longer just a department, it's a daily decision. It's in every hiring tool, every content system, every data partnership, every workflow, and it's in every leader's hands. So as you continue growing in this era, hold tight to the truth. Technology changes fast, but values don't have to. In fact, the faster things move, the more we need anchors that hold us steady. You don't need to be an expert in machine learning to lead ethically. You just need to care, to listen, to speak, to lead like people still matter, because they do. Even in a world of machines, ethics will always be human. Chapter 7: Becoming Future Ready. The future isn't waiting for us to catch up, it's arriving faster than ever. Every week, a new tool launches. Every month, a new workflow changes. Every year, entire industries reshape. For leaders, creators, professionals, and learners alike, the question is no longer what do I need to know, but how can I stay ready for what comes next? Becoming future ready is not a static skill set, it's a mindset, a posture, a daily choice to stay flexible, curious, and prepared, even when the path ahead is unclear. It begins with a shift in how we think about knowledge. In the past, we could rely on expertise that lasted decades. You learned accounting, coding, medicine, law, or marketing, and those core skills served you for much of your career. But now, the half-life of knowledge is shrinking. What you mastered 5 years ago might already be outdated. In some fields, even 5 months is a stretch. This doesn't mean knowledge has lost value. It means the value has moved from what you know to how quickly you can learn. Future readiness starts with learning agility. This is the ability to absorb new ideas quickly, apply them thoughtfully, and discard what no longer works without emotional attachment. Let's say you're a senior manager in a logistics company. You've built your workflows on Excel models and email systems. Suddenly, AI-powered operations platforms emerge. They automate supply chain decisions, detect bottlenecks in real time, and reroute deliveries before delays happen. If your first instinct is to protect your old system, you fall behind. But if you say, let me test this new platform, let me understand what it automates and what it needs from me, You move with the future, not against it. Being future-ready doesn't require knowing every tool, but it does require staying open to them. Curiosity must become your operating system. And not just passive curiosity, active, intentional exploration. This means setting aside time regularly to learn. It might be 1 hour each week to explore an AI tool, read about new workplace trends, or test something small in your workflow. Think of it as part of your job, not an extra. This habit of continuous exploration separates the reactive from the ready. Now let's talk about mindset. There's one mindset shift that every future-ready person must make, from control to adaptability. We were raised in systems that rewarded control, clear plans, defined roles, predictable outcomes. But in the AI era, the person who adapts fastest often outpaces the one who controls most tightly. This doesn't mean abandoning planning. It means holding plans loosely and people tightly. It means adjusting when reality shifts, without spiraling into fear or denial. Imagine a small business owner who launches an online store. She builds her marketing plan, sets her inventory, hires a few freelancers. 2 months in, an AI tool releases that changes how customers find products. Search engines are no longer dominant, and conversational AI becomes the new entry point. She can either panic, freeze, and blame the disruption, or pivot her strategy. Learn prompt-based marketing, adjust content for AI discovery. Partner with someone who understands the shift. That adaptability is future readiness in motion. It's not about being fearless, it's about being flexible. Another essential trait of future-ready people is systems thinking. Instead of focusing only on one task, tool, or outcome, they see the larger picture. They ask, how does this technology change the behavior of my team? How does one small shift ripple across an entire customer journey? How does this AI affect not just performance, but trust, ethics, morale? This broader awareness helps you lead, decide, and build with intention. Because in a connected world, no tool or choice exists in isolation. Systems thinking helps you prepare for second-order consequences, the things you didn't predict but should have considered. Let's say you implement an AI tool to speed up hiring. It ranks candidates fast and recommends top profiles. But months later, you realize your team has become less diverse. That's not a tech issue, it's a systems issue. The algorithm reinforced existing patterns. Being future-ready means you would have anticipated this possibility and monitored outcomes from the beginning. That brings us to responsible experimentation. In the AI era, trial and error is your friend, but only if you learn from it. Trying new tools, new methods, or new business models is necessary. But reckless experimenting creates noise. Responsible experimentation creates insight. Future-ready leaders create space for safe testing. They say to their teams, let's try this for 30 days. Let's measure what happens. Let's reflect and improve. That culture removes fear from innovation. It gives permission to grow without punishment. And here's the key. You don't need to launch massive pilots. Small experiments done consistently teach you more than big, rare ones. A new prompt structure for content, a new tool for project planning, a different onboarding flow. These micro-tests build macro confidence. Now let's zoom out a little more. Future readiness is also emotional. This is often overlooked, but it's crucial. The pace of change can be emotionally draining. You might feel tired of learning new systems. You might grieve the loss of a role or identity you once had. You might envy those who seem to adapt faster. That's all human. That's all real. But being future-ready means learning how to process these emotions without being ruled by them. Emotional resilience is a future skill. It's the ability to feel uncertainty and still take action. To feel doubt, but still ask questions. To feel fatigue and still come back tomorrow with curiosity. Leaders especially must learn how to regulate their emotions, because when your team sees you panicking, they panic. But when they see you grounded, open, and transparent, they follow that energy. You don't have to fake confidence. Just model steadiness. You can say, this new tool is challenging me too, but let's figure it out together. That honesty is not weakness, it's leadership. And this leads into another overlooked trait of future readiness, shared growth. The people who thrive in this era are not solo geniuses. They're networked learners. They grow by learning with others. So build learning into your relationships. Talk about what tools you're testing. Share prompts. Ask your peers how they're adapting. Create small circles where curiosity is celebrated, not judged. In this era, collaboration is not just about productivity, it's about adaptability, because none of us can keep up with everything alone. But together we can see more, learn more, and grow faster. This is what becoming future-ready really looks like. Staying curious, staying grounded, and staying connected. You don't need all the answers. You just need the right attitude, the right rhythm, and the right people. To be truly future-ready, it's not enough to prepare yourself. You must prepare the environment around you. The teams you lead, the business you run, the culture you influence. Why? Because readiness is collective. If your mindset is adaptive but your environment is rigid, progress will always slow. That's why future-focused leadership must go beyond personal skills. It must shape systems that invite change, support learning, and welcome invention. So let's talk about how to do that. The first shift to make is from performance culture to learning culture. In many organizations, people are rewarded only for getting things right, for hitting targets, for executing flawlessly. That works in stable environments, but in fast-changing contexts, it becomes dangerous. Why? Because if people fear being wrong, they stop exploring. They stop trying new tools. They stop speaking up when they see problems. And when that happens, you fall behind, even if your metrics look fine today. Being future-ready means fostering a culture where learning is the norm, where people are safe to test, safe to ask, safe to iterate. That might sound abstract, so let's make it practical. If someone on your team experiments with a new AI prompt and it fails, that's not a failure. It's data. What didn't work? What can we adjust? What did we learn? You model this by how you respond. Instead of saying, that didn't work, you say, thanks for testing this. What did it teach us? That one sentence can change an entire team's courage, and this applies at every level. In marketing, engineering, education, healthcare, non-profits, wherever humans are solving problems, future-ready cultures reward exploration, not just execution. Next, let's talk about communication rhythms. A future-ready team doesn't just adapt to change, they talk about it often. Not once in a big meeting, not hidden in strategy documents. Openly, repeatedly, with clarity. That means leaders must create space for ongoing dialogue about emerging trends, AI tools, changing roles, and new experiments. This could be in weekly stand-ups, monthly reviews, or quarterly reflections. The method doesn't matter as much as the consistency. When you normalize conversations about change, you lower anxiety and raise engagement. You show your team that the unknown isn't a threat, it's a shared journey. You might start a team call with a simple question: what's one thing you've noticed changing in our field this month? Or, who tried something new with AI this week, and what did you learn? These questions create a culture of noticing, sharing, and evolving. That's future readiness in motion. Now let's talk about a deeper form of readiness, identity agility. This one's often hidden. It's not about tools, it's about self-definition. When the world changes fast, people often struggle because their identity is tied too tightly to a role, a method, or a status. But if your sense of self is only rooted in what you used to be, an expert, a gatekeeper, a specialist, then every shift feels like a threat. Future-ready individuals and leaders evolve their identity. They don't say, I'm just a lawyer, or I'm just a teacher, or I'm just a writer. Instead, they ask, what kind of value can I create in this new context? A teacher becomes a learning designer. A lawyer becomes a strategic advisor. A writer becomes a content architect powered by AI. The title may stay the same, but the mindset shifts. The methods expand. The identity stretches forward. So ask yourself, who am I becoming? That question keeps your identity fluid and your growth intentional. And now, let's acknowledge something critical. Becoming future-ready isn't about endless hustle. It's not about staying up every night learning the next new tool. It's about developing sustainable pace. Burnout is the enemy of adaptability. If your nervous system is fried, your creativity shuts down, your vision narrows, your learning stalls. So pace matters. Take breaks, protect sleep, build boundaries with technology. This isn't laziness, it's leadership, because you're preserving your capacity to learn, adapt, and lead in the long run. And as you do that, remember, rest is not retreat, rest is repair, and in a high-change environment, repair is strategy. Finally, let's bring all of this home with a core belief. The future is not something we observe, it's something we shape. Yes, AI will continue to evolve. Yes, industries will keep shifting. But your posture toward the future, your readiness to engage, to question, to explore, to grow, is the ultimate variable. You don't need to control the world to shape it. You just need to bring your full self into it, with awareness, with intention, and with hope. Because this future isn't cold, it's not robotic, it's deeply human if we build it that way. And that's what you're doing right now. By choosing to grow, by choosing to learn, by choosing to lead. You're not running from the future. You're becoming the kind of person who can guide others into it. That's what being future ready truly means.